Discounting typically means do not value your product, your services as much as your client is. So discount should not be part of the strategy.
Coffee's for closers only.
So we've established my proposal is sound in principle. Now we're just haggling over price.
Let's see how much we're going for on eBay.
I mean, it's the same as Dunkin' Donuts. Costs 15 times the price.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Jennings Executive Search. I had a great conversation with John Jennings about the skills needed in different pricing roles. He and I think a lot alike. If you're looking for a new pricing role, or if you're trying to hire just the right pricing person, I strongly suggest you reach out to Jennings Executive Search. They specialize in placing pricing people. Say that 3 times fast. Welcome to Impact Pricing, the podcast where we discuss pricing, value, and the dynamic relationship between them. I'm Mark Stiving, and I run boot camps to help companies get paid more. Our guest today is Amit Godbole. Hopefully I got that right, Amit. Here are 3 things you want to know about Amit before we start. He is the founder of ProdSquad, whose mission is to make e-commerce technology 10 times simpler, effective, and impactful through better product management practices. I just really like that phrase. He's a fractional chief product officer at FCI CCM, and he's a regional product tank coordinator with Mind the Product. And Mind the Product is probably one of the best networking organizations for product managers. Welcome, Amit.
Thanks, Mark. It's great to be here.
It is going to be great to have you. So
yeah.
let me ask, and I know it may not fit you perfectly, but I want to ask that anyway. How did you get into pricing?
Well, it happened by accident. I was I was a product manager in one of these security companies, and then I joined a VC firm where we were evaluating companies. As a product manager, I could realize that these companies could make a lot of profit, not by shipping more features, not by creating a mobile app, or not by even going after a new market, but only by changing their pricing. Such a valuable uh, tweak to the product, which could not only bring more revenues to the company, to the investors, but also give us somewhat more credibility in the eyes of our customers. And to my surprise, a lot of product managers were not exposed to this. So then I thought to myself that, okay, if there is one area where I want to make the biggest impact as a product management professional, what would that be? And that's when I thought pricing, revenue, commercial aspects were the biggest levers somebody could pull in to, get a product to the success they want.
So can I say I agree with everything you just said, and I'm shocked to hear it. And I say I'm shocked because most product managers don't think they own pricing, or they don't focus on pricing. They focus on what's the next product or what's the next feature that we're going to go build.
Well, that's been traditionally the way it is. We had the Marty Kagans who started with looking at product and pricing. And then we have the newer teams from Marty Kagan's to newer people. Marty Kagan's one of the foremost voices in product management, and to now newer product managers who are user-centric, discovery-centric. Somewhere along the way, pricing was moved beyond product and moved to commercial teams, which I think made sense to those organizations back then because product managers were very few and they had not much to do. And companies thought of, hey, let's take some of these beyond them. But then I think it's high time product managers, especially in this SaaS world, and when you're designing the pricing page, when you're designing what is the best value to your customers. It is important that pricing is something which product managers also look at. One of the
Okay, so
pitfalls.
I was just say I agree with you, but why don't more firms do that? Why is it that product managers don't think they own pricing or don't spend time thinking about pricing?
I think it's evolving. There are a lot of B2C firms or firms that sell directly to customers, especially around e-commerce, where you have to experiment a lot. Product managers do a lot of experimentation through discovery calls, through reaching out to customers. And yes, one of the important questions is, would you buy if we increase our prices, or would you want a discount if we, for you to make the change? So they are kind of involved in pricing by moving the needle so that the customer can make a purchase. Uh, but that needs to happen a lot, especially around B2B, SaaS companies, enterprise companies, where you have long sales cycle. That's where I think product managers can bring in their experimentation hat and help organizations build, give those inputs around pricing. So yeah, that should happen more.
So I mean, I can't agree enough. When I think about product managers and the way I've always seen them do their job and the way I do my job and what I think they should be doing, I've seen them focus on what are people asking for, what do customers want. They might even think a little bit beyond that and say, what do we think customers actually need? But what I always focus on is value. And so value to me is, in the B2B world, value is how much more money are we going to make our customers?
Yeah.
Right? If I build this feature, do I make them more money? And if the answer is yes, then they'll probably pay me for it.
Uh, in product management, somehow the M word uh, is not used that frequently.
What's the M word?
Money.
Oh, money.
Yeah. Well, we kind of think value in terms of as I said, moving from how the product management started to where it is now, we kind of think, are we able to, you know, do 4-click less for a user on a user interface? Are we able to automate some of the tasks? But then, and during those conversations with customers, yes, uh, what is the value you're driving, and then is that value attached to a revenue or to a number? Uh, that has not been used much, and I'm trying to do that. That product management professionals must understand that value has to be tied to revenue or a dollar value. Mm.
Yeah.
Because that's a real value you can create. We are all for corporate businesses.
Yep. Yeah. So I often say in B2B, value is measured in incremental profit, and that
Yeah,
incremental profit comes from one of three different places. It either comes from increased revenue, decreased cost, or reduced risk. And they actually go in that order, right? So if I could show a company how they're going to make more revenue, the CEO loves me. If I could show a company how we're going to reduce costs, the COO and the CFO love me. And if I could show people how they're going to reduce risk, nobody actually cares because nobody wants to buy insurance. Uh, so, so that's how I think about value when I'm thinking B2B. Can we articulate it in one of those
yeah.
ways that makes sense?
Well, I come from infosec background, so yeah. Well, I have been talking a lot about this, uh, but then later on, I did realize that being part of the profit center, being part of the solution where you help increase revenue for your customers, for your company, that I think makes conversations much easier.
Yeah.
One of my clients was a, please go ahead.
No, no, you go.
So one of my clients was a chemical company trying to sell chemicals online, and we wanted to do that in a no hands, no touched way, so that To build the trust for our customers who've been used to buying chemicals in the more traditional way, we had to use the pricing levers. Tell the customers that, hey, if you buy online, if you buy chemicals through this process, these are more. Uh, it delivers chemical on time every time, and you also get better pricing because we have less overheads. So explaining that to the customers was, I think, the job I had, and you know, which would help you make more profits.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and my preference would be to see if we could sell it online at the same price, where we get the extra profit in our pocket. And we do that
Yeah.
through guaranteed delivery or guaranteed service, something like that. Ease of use for them. They don't have to talk to a salesperson, right? Lots of great
Right.
value there. And so maybe we could have pulled that off. Who knows?
Well, we kind of went a step further in that, just on that topic, is we said we built something called as auto ship, a mechanism where we would deliver chemicals uh, to your doorstep at regular intervals. When we researched, what we found out that nobody needs chemicals only once. We are part of a supply chain. If you need sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, that's something part of your supply chain. What if we could solve the problem of customers even ordering online and we delivered that at regular intervals? That's great value. Customers loved it. And we went from 20 customers who were our pilot batch who would say, okay, we need chemicals at regular intervals, to about 300 customers.
Nice.
That helped us in understanding that there is value in repeat customers and understanding retention as well. So, and because it was a subscription model, we could offer some discounts to our customers.
Yep. You know what I love about that story though is most people don't think about value beyond the product. And what you just talked about
Mm.
was value around the distribution of the product or how we serve the product. And the value wasn't the product, right? I mean, certainly there's still value in the product, but we recognized the value beyond on the outside of the product, which I thought is fantastic. And not enough companies do that.
Yes, it's subscription pricing is very difficult, uh, especially because we want to help customers understand that their supply chain is a creature of habit. Continued supply chain, regular, uninterrupted supply um, of raw materials is something that helps keep their production line going.
Yeah.
Explaining this, coming up with a hypothesis that this is what customers would want, took us about 2 months of time.
Mhm.
And then I think, yeah, it was a matter of convincing some of them.
Nice. Nice. Um, so let's talk a little bit about pricing pages, if we can.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so when I think about a pricing page, usually it's B2C. There are a bunch of people that are doing B2B, and in the B2B pricing pages, oftentimes they're small dollar amounts. So it's when we don't have a direct salesperson calling on a customer. So what do you think? Is that the right use for pricing pages, or are we not covering enough?
Uh, a lot of times in B2C, the pricing pages are only giving partial information. The intent is to lock in the customer now and help them make a decision fast. It is not the right decision all the times. Customers use the ability to make a faster decision uh, and the speed at which they subscribe. That is also the speed at which they unsubscribe. A more mature pricing page, I think, would have also the caveats what you're getting into, especially in B2C or in both, would give information. And it's okay to make it a little longer. It's okay to make it a little, dance kind of way where you explain the customer what they're getting into, or answering questions of what customers feel that this sort of pricing delivers the absolute value they are looking for. So if you're looking for a Zoom Pro if you're looking for a Loom Pro account, this is what you need and that's what you're getting into. So uh, I feel there are some companies who do a very good job. I was looking at Canva today, and they do a good job. When I wanted to move from Pro to a enterprise or higher solution, they said, "Hey, you don't need a bigger package. Your existing package has it all." I see more companies need to be those honest or need to help customers choose uh, the right solution. And if that's not right for them, don't upsell that.
Yep. Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. Now, when you say that we're going to add more information, one of the things that happens with pricing pages when they become too dense, um, people don't understand or don't bother. One of my favorite lines is "confused buyers don't buy," and so if we write too much stuff, we've lost our buyers. How do you recommend we get the information to them without making it look like, hey, you're about to read a new book?
Well, I think you're right. And yes, if you make it if you cram in a lot of information, there's a chance that you would lose the customer. If there is a way to it, and what I think is uh, purchase, purchasing or the pricing purchase decision could be turned out into smaller decision points. Okay, this is in terms of the features they need, maybe building that, and then maybe packaging. Uh, those two, three decisions, if we can break the pricing into smaller decisions, we could still solve the real estate problem uh, and also give customer complete information before they make a decision. I feel pricing itself uh, is a set of smaller decisions. The benefit of this approach is, you have the customer for a longer period of time. I
Yeah,
would
we're
love
just
to hear your thoughts, Ashley.
I was gonna say we're just being honest with our customers. So I have a whole lot of thoughts around this. Let me give you two different directions that I would take this or think about it. And the first one is, um, if we've created, I'm a huge fan of good, better, best,
Yeah.
but good, better, best doesn't work across the board. Good, better, best works inside a market segment. And so if we were to help a customer say, oh, you fit in this market segment. So if we think of LinkedIn, oh, you're a recruiter. Oh, you're a salesperson. Oh, you're looking for a job, right? So we pick the market segment. Then we could say, here are the three packages you should be considering, right? Good,
Yeah.
better, best, which one fits you? So I love that from a decision process, and I'm going to guide you into the decision you want to make. The next thing I really like about this is most companies list features for their good, better, best. So what features do you get in good? What features do you get in better? What features do you get in best? And I'm not a huge fan of features, but what we could do is we could have mouse overs or click throughs that says, hey, when I get this feature, what does it actually do for me? So what are the problems you're solving? What are the results I might achieve because I've got this feature? And so you can now give me that information that the customers really should have and should be thinking through, oh, do I need this or do I not need this? And now they can make an intelligent decision in this world of good, better, best.
Well, that's a gem. And so what you're saying is that we change from a feature laden good, better, best to an uh, outcome defined good, better, best. I really love that approach. And I think
Yeah.
when I use a Figma, all I want to do is draw one design, and Figma can tell me that, hey, this is what you need to just do one design. Uh, in fact, there was this tool called Flipchart, uh, which would allow you to just edit one video. So, and later on, they were bought by Microsoft. But then, uh, so yeah, their pricing was so nice. But hey, I'm here to just edit one video. Can you help me do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think pricing pages are they're tricky, right? But one of the things that you and I talked about a little bit already, and I love, is the idea that we could go to the B2C pricing pages,
Yeah.
right? Because these guys do A/B testing all the time. They watch what happens. They get so many opportunities to convert customers
Yeah.
that we can now look at what they do and steal that and apply that in our B2B world, because we don't get the number of opportunities that B2C customers get or B2C companies get.
Yes. I agree with your view that some of the behavioral science or user segmentation that's being done in B2C is they have multiple demographics, multiple size and shapes of customers. Uh, those things can be brought into B2B, uh, and rather than going with who's the decision maker, who's the user, or having only three or four customer segments, we could have maybe more of them, and then design the pages to those things,
Yeah.
to those segments. Uh,
Yeah.
I had a question for you, Mark,
Oh,
because
feel
we have
free.
here. So you've been a big proponent of value-based pricing. Uh, you've led so many seminars, and that it's a concept that's now being used a lot more. How do you see that evolving now? 'Cause we are here in 2025, 26.
Yes. So I want to, this let me talk about two different topics for just a second, if I may.
Yeah.
First off, I changed my base level thinking of pricing away from value based pricing. Now, I didn't really go away, but I said, look, I really like this idea or this concept of context driven pricing more than I like value based pricing. And
Okay.
the reason I said that is because I would argue with my pricing friends about what the definition of value was. Right. And the way they define value and value based pricing doesn't capture all the things we really want to capture. And so context driven pricing has a very simple meaning. It means charge what a buyer is willing to pay. Right? That's it. And there are three basic tenets to context driven pricing. The first one is context is I'm sorry, willingness to pay is contextual, meaning an umbrella is more valuable on a rainy day than it is on a sunny day.
Yeah.
Right? Willingness to pay is malleable, meaning I can have my salespeople help explain the value of my product to you. And the more you learn about my product, the more you're willing to pay for my product. And the third tenet is willingness to pay is unknowable. So I can never know how much you're willing to pay for anything. So I can never be perfect. So stop trying to be perfect, try to be better. And so that's what I think of when I think of what's the right pricing. Now, even when I talked about context driven pricing and I said willingness to pay is malleable, I went right back to value, right? What's the value that a customer's seeing? How do I convince a buyer that there's more value? But there are other aspects to willingness to pay, because we have these aspects of, emotional, behavioral economics issues, how I present my
Sure.
price to you, right? So all of these things influence your willingness to pay for my product, and they're important and we want to think through them, but they're not value, if that makes sense. So In my head, I always think about context-driven pricing now, as opposed to
Uh,
value-based pricing.
that's very forward-looking, and I think customers, B2B companies would go for it. Um, in context of large contracts where B2B companies are pitted against one another, and these procurement teams have the lowest bid wins. I think contextual pricing would be more helpful in there too.
And I think that's what most people who think about value-based pricing are thinking anyway. They just haven't articulated it. I think most of us are thinking, how do I get a buyer to pay me more? Right.
Yeah,
Um, and so I've worked with companies. I used to be in the semiconductor industry. Plus, I've worked with companies where, we would do a contract with a big company and there's 100 or 1,000 different parts on this one contract.
yeah.
And, these are components that they're going to build into their own products. So what's the value of any given component? It's really hard to go negotiate. Oh, the value of this isn't 27 cents, it's 29 cents. Right? It's really hard. But on the other hand, those are the situations where you step back and say, what's the value of the relationship with that customer? How well are we doing with on-time deliveries? How well are we doing at making sure that they've got the right products and the quality's there and they're never missing their deliveries? And this is where the value really comes in. And we start thinking about what's the value to the customer, um, but not from a product perspective, but from a relationship perspective. And now I might be able to get a 9% increase in price instead of a 6% increase in price.
I really like your example of umbrella on a rainy day, and I can relate to it. Uh, yeah, uh, I was recently in London, and yes, there was the weather is as predictable as it gets. So yeah, I think I paid more price for an umbrella, but then
Yeah.
uh,
Doesn't it rain there every day?
well, yeah, the day you least expect, they kind of they the rain gods have a way that when you least expect you're out, and then yes, today it was.
Yes. Yeah. I have to say, every time I've been in London, the weather's been decent. So I can't complain too much. I've been lucky. So, Amit, thank you. This has been so much fun, but I do want to ask you one more question and then we'll wrap it up. What is one piece of pricing advice you would give our listeners that you think could have a big impact on their business?
Well, that's a tough one, but then I think discount is not the biggest arsenal in your pricing strategy. Pricing is contextual. Pricing depends upon the value of goods you're providing to the customer. Discounting uh, typically means you do not value your product, your services as much as your client is. So, uh, discount should not be.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. Now, sometimes when we think about price segmentation, discounting helps us achieve that,
Hmm.
but we reach for that discount lever way too often.
I
So,
think, uh, Mark, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We've all learned reading your, we've all grown reading your books on pricing, and I would like you to, you know, what would be your advice to the upcoming pricing analysts, consultants like people like me? How should we go about in our journey?
what a great question, Amit. I'll give you several answers. One answer is start writing. In 2010, I started writing a blog. I have written a blog every single week since 2010.
Yeah,
And so start writing. When you write, it forces you to think. So it forces you to say, do I really believe this? Or what are the exceptions to that? And then you get people that might make a comment and say, yeah, I don't agree with that because for whatever reason. And you start to learn and get to think through this. So I think write, right? Go write every day. Create a blog and write once a week and just force yourself to do it. The second thing I would suggest is start to create a set of frameworks that you deeply believe in. Feel free to steal all mine. I don't care, right? But these are ways that you think the way that you say pricing should be. And then as you go around the world, you see something that doesn't fit. And now the problem is you get to figure out how do you tweak your frameworks because that doesn't fit. Right. And so to me, that's how I built every single framework that I have today is, oh, that doesn't fit in the way I think. I have to readjust the way I think. What's that going to look like? And that's where
Well,
we are.
well, such a great piece of advice, Mark. I think I couldn't have gone better. Uh, I really like our conversation today, and I look forward to a lot more.
All right. Thanks, Amit. And thank you very much for your time today. If anybody wants to contact you, how can they do that?
Well, the easiest way to reach out to me is LinkedIn. I'll put my linkedin.com/n/AMITGOBBOLE. That's Amit Godbole. Yes.
Perfect. And we'll have the link in the show notes as well. So, and to our listeners, thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this, would you please leave us a rating and a review? Brian Knowles from VersaBadge left me this on LinkedIn. Actually, this is one sentence, but Mark's ability to quickly understand our business and his thorough process was incredibly helpful in getting us to think differently and more strategically about the value we provide to our clients and how we price and package our solutions. Thank you, Brian. As always, the check is in the mail. And finally, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if your company needs help getting paid more for the value you deliver, feel free to email me, mark@impactpricing.com. Now, go make an impact. Thanks again to Jennings Executive Search for sponsoring our podcast. If you're looking to hire someone in pricing, I suggest you contact someone who knows pricing people. Contact Jennings Executive Search.